It's really the end of an era. And, sometimes there would be talk about, getting the cast together. I mean, Peter Boyle passed away a few years ago, but he had been sick for a while and we kind of had time to prepare.
At 67, Patricia Heaton finally lifts the curtain on a secret she carried quietly through every laugh track, every kitchen scene, and every family meltdown on Everybody Loves Raymond. While viewers saw a confident, quick-witted Debra Barone holding the sitcom world together, Patricia was hiding something far more personal, something that shaped her performances in ways no one ever guessed. Castmates felt hints of it, producers noticed shadows of it, but the truth stayed locked away for years. So, what was Patricia Heaton really concealing behind the cameras all that time? Patricia Heaton's double pregnancy cover-up. Patricia Heaton secretly experienced real motherhood while playing Debra Barone, becoming pregnant twice during Everybody Loves Raymond. Despite the chaos on and off screen, she kept both pregnancies hidden so well that millions of viewers never realized what was happening behind the scenes. Her pregnancies created a unique challenge for the writers and crew. Debra Barone already had her hands full with 3 kids, a sports writer husband who acted like a 4th child, and in-laws who believed privacy was optional. Adding more babies into that already packed storyline would have changed the entire rhythm of the show. So the writers made a decision. Debra would stay the mother of 3, no more. That meant Patricia's growing baby bump had to disappear, at least on camera. What followed was one of the most creative concealment missions in sitcom history. The cast and crew practically became undercover agents, pregnancy ninjas, working together with stealth and precision to hide Patricia's belly in plain sight. Their tools? Anything that could block the camera's view. And I mean anything. Suddenly, Debra Barone developed an obsession with huge household items. Patricia found herself standing behind giant cereal boxes that could feed a small village. In some scenes, she held purses so oversized they could double as camping tents. When that wasn't enough, the props department would slide in furniture, fruit bowls big enough to be satellite dishes, and laundry baskets that could hide a baby elephant. It became an art form, hiding a baby with bananas, blankets, and boxes. One of the funniest moments came when the wardrobe team gave her Ray's massive winter coat to wear indoors in April. Imagine walking into the living room wrapped like someone ready to shovel snow during a heat wave. It made no sense, but the audience never questioned it. That's how good the team was. Another time, Patricia spent nearly an entire scene standing behind the kitchen island, intensely folding laundry. And not just folding, refolding, smoothing, straightening, adjusting. For 8 straight minutes. At one point, she joked that Debra must hold the world record for most laundry folded in a single conversation. But nobody watching at home blinked. They were too caught up in the jokes, the arguments, and the everyday relatable chaos of the Barone family to notice what was happening just below the counter. The lengths the production team went to were almost cinematic. Directors would adjust camera angles so that Patricia appeared only from the waist up. Costumers would layer her clothing or change fits at the last second. Crew members would shuffle props like stage magicians. Even Ray Romano found himself occasionally standing a little closer, blocking the view without making it look unnatural. It was teamwork at its funniest and most frantic. Looking back, Patricia finds the whole thing hilarious. Years later, she joked, "I gave birth twice and nobody in America knew. That's either the best acting of my life or the best props department in history." She wasn't wrong. It was a perfect blend, her talent, the writer's creativity, the crew's dedication, and a bit of sitcom magic. What makes the story even more charming is how it reflects the spirit of Everybody Loves Raymond. The show was always rooted in the everyday struggles of family life. Squeezed schedules, endless housework, and the chaos of raising kids. Behind the scenes, the cast and crew were juggling their own real-life challenges with the same sense of humor and teamwork. Patricia's pregnancies became a hidden storyline, one that played out backstage with as much laughter and panic as anything seen on screen. Think about it. Millions of people tuned in every week, analyzing every joke and moment, yet not a single viewer caught on. That's how smoothly the operation ran. It was almost like a magic trick that lasted for seasons. Patricia walked onto the set carrying life and walked off the screen looking like nothing had changed, thanks to cereal boxes, giant handbags, and a winter coat in spring. In the end, Patricia's story isn't just funny. It's a reminder of the incredible collaboration that goes into making a beloved sitcom. The actors shine, but behind them stands an entire army of people working out details so small you never notice them. Except this time, the detail was a baby. Twice. And through it all, Patricia remained radiant, professional, and fully committed to her role. Debra Barone kept her sharp wit. Patricia Heaton kept her secret. And America kept laughing, never knowing just how much life was happening behind those perfectly timed jokes. Why would Patricia Heaton conceal her pregnancies during that period? What is so special about the sitcom? Let's find out. The title that started as a brother's jealous burn. Ray Romano's hit sitcom was born from a single irritated joke by his older brother Richard, a New York police officer. Frustrated by Ray's easygoing comedian lifestyle, Richard snapped, "I dodge bullets, you doodle on napkins, and everybody loves Raymond." Meant as a teasing sibling insult, the line stung, but it also sparked something unforgettable. Neither brother realized that this sarcastic comment would become the title of one of the 1990s most beloved sitcoms, forever shaping Ray's career and securing a place in pop culture history. When CBS decided they wanted to name the show Everybody Loves Raymond, Ray panicked. To him, it sounded boastful, almost like he was declaring himself the world's favorite person. He worried people would think he was full of himself or, even worse, judge the show before giving it a chance. Ray pleaded, begged, and pitched alternatives. He tried explaining that the title wasn't just attention-grabbing, it was embarrassing. But CBS wouldn't budge. Why? Because every time they tested that title with audiences, people went wild. The laughter wasn't just casual or polite. According to the producers, viewers burst into laughter the moment they heard the line delivered by the character Robert, Ray's sitcom brother, during the conveyor belt intro. There was something comically painful and painfully relatable about watching the jealous brother mutter the words, a mix of resentment and surrender. It captured the entire show's dynamic in one punch. CBS knew they had struck gold. Ray was mortified, but the network was confident. The title was staying put. And just like that, a throwaway comment from a slightly irritated cop became the unforgettable banner under which the comedy would thrive for 9 seasons. The success of Everybody Loves Raymond didn't just cement Ray's status as a household name, it created a cultural ripple effect. Years later, comedian Chris Rock would playfully borrow the idea and flip it on its head to create his own comedy classic, Everybody Hates Chris. While the premise was completely different, the title was a clever wink at Ray's pristine sitcom world. Chris Rock's version was gritty, chaotic, and charged with childhood misadventures, nothing like Ray's suburban stories, but the contrast itself was the joke. It was as if Chris was saying, "Sure, everybody loves Ray, but my childhood, not so much." The playful comparison between the two shows became part of the bigger conversation about how sitcoms present family life. Some polished, some raw, all entertaining. And all of this, the network debates, the spin-off jokes, the pop culture echoes, traced back to one moment inside the Romano household. One casual remark, one burst of sibling sarcasm. But that's the magic of real-life stories. Sometimes the things we say in frustration, humor, or even jealousy end up becoming the sparks that light entire worlds on fire. Richard Romano never planned to give his brother the perfect sitcom title. He was simply being a big brother, poking at Ray the way siblings do. Yet that single comment created a legacy neither of them could have predicted. The deeper lesson hidden inside this story is almost poetic. The words we speak, especially within family, carry power. They can hurt, heal, inspire, or, in this case, become a million-dollar TV brand. Ray's discomfort with the title only made the story funnier in hindsight. He tried to run from it, hide from it, even convince executives to throw it away. But the universe had plans. The audience loved it, the network trusted it, and his brother's jab became immortal. Shows come and go, titles fade, characters are forgotten. But Everybody Loves Raymond remains one of the rare sitcoms whose very name has its own legend. A backstory filled with humor, conflict, family rivalry, and fate. And it all began with a brother rolling his eyes and saying, "I dodge bullets? You doodle on napkins." Sometimes you don't choose the moment that defines you. Sometimes your sibling chooses it for you, whether you like it or not. And sometimes, complaining too loudly only guarantees that the universe will turn your embarrassment into history. In Ray's case, one sarcastic remark earned him a career-defining milestone, sparked the creation of another hit series, and cemented the Romano brothers' story in television history. The takeaway: be mindful of what you say around your family. Your next offhand joke might end up broadcast to millions. But what seemed strange in the sitcom? How did the viewers perceive it? Why did it happen? Let's delve into the details surrounding the sudden replacement of Patricia's twins in the sitcom. The Vanishing Twins and the Secret Sweeten Takeover. The Barone twins on Everybody Loves Raymond, played by the Ferrera brothers in Season 1, charmed everyone with their cuteness and calm demeanor. By Season 2, they were quietly replaced, a change unnoticed for nearly 20 years, highlighting the hidden, behind-the-scenes magic of television casting. How is that even possible, especially in a show watched by millions? The answer is both simple and hilarious. The Ferrera twins grew up at lightning speed. One moment, they were tiny look-alike infants. The next, they looked more like distant cousins than identical brothers. Their growth spurts were so dramatic that they no longer resembled each other, and continuity-wise, it became nearly impossible to present them as matching twins on screen. The producers realized something had to be done. A baby switch was coming, and it needed to be subtle. Enter two new faces, Sawyer and Sullivan Sweeten. And here's where the story gets even more interesting. These weren't random Hollywood kids pulled from an audition line. They were part of the Everybody Loves Raymond family in a much deeper way. The boys were the real-life younger brothers of Madeline Sweeten, the actress who played Ally Barone, the twins' big sister on the show. In other words, the producers found a pair of twins not only adorable and camera-ready, but also genetically connected to someone already in the cast. The resemblance was natural, the chemistry was guaranteed, and the transition? Flawless. So almost overnight, the Barone twins went from the Ferrera brothers to the Sweeten brothers. It was done quietly, with no dramatic announcement, no on-screen explanation, no press release saying, "Hey, America, meet your new twins." The shift was so smooth that most viewers kept watching season after season without realizing the switch had ever happened. The Heaton twins grew into the roles so naturally, laughing, reacting, and delivering their little lines with perfect comedic timing, that audiences simply accepted them as the Barone boys they'd always known. Fast forward 2 decades. The internet has grown louder, sharper, and much more nostalgic. Fans rewatch old sitcoms backward and forward, freeze-framing scenes to catch continuity glitches, background jokes, and, of course, casting changes. And suddenly, the truth exploded like a surprise plot twist. On Reddit, side-by-side photos of the twins from Season 1 and Seasons 2 to 9 began circulating. The reaction? Absolute shock. Fans typed in all caps, "Wait, these aren't the same boys?" Others insisted it had to be lighting or angles until more screenshots appeared. The comments piled up, full of disbelief, laughter, and a sense of collective betrayal. How did nobody catch this? How did an entire fan base miss the most obvious baby swap in sitcom history? And that's exactly what makes the recast so legendary. It wasn't messy. It wasn't controversial. It wasn't even intentional misdirection. It was simply the smoothest, most invisible switcheroo Hollywood had ever pulled off. And it worked, because the Heaton brothers were that good. Their timing, their expressions, the way they fit effortlessly into the fictional Barone family. They made the roles feel like theirs from the moment they appeared. Instead of questioning the change, viewers just kept laughing episode after episode, season after season, completely absorbed in the comedy of Ray, Debra, Marie, Frank, and the twins running around the house creating chaos. Some recasts become famous for being awkward. Others become memes or turning points in a show's reputation. But the Barone baby swap? It became a hidden gem, buried quietly in TV history until eagle-eyed fans dug it up with shock and amusement years later. Today, people still talk about it with a mix of disbelief and admiration. The fact that such a major shift went unnoticed for so long makes the story even more impressive and funny. So yes, it's true. The Ferreira twins melted into Season 1 and then slipped out of the show as quickly as they entered. The Heaton twins stepped in like tiny sitcom royalty, leaving such a memorable mark that the world completely forgot there had ever been another pair of Barone babies before them. If that isn't one of Hollywood's sneakiest and most successful recasts ever, what is? Was Patricia the only one to have hidden something in the sitcom? Who else had a struggle he silently battled? Let's dive into the details of the struggles of the man behind Robert Barone. Brad Garrett's secret battle while making us cry laugh. Robert Barone, the towering, soft-hearted giant from Everybody Loves Raymond, kept audiences laughing for nearly a decade. His slow walk, deep voice, and perfectly timed one-liners turned him into one of television's most unforgettable characters. But behind the camera, Brad Garrett, the man who brought Robert to life, was quietly fighting a battle that no script could fix. While viewers saw a lovable, awkward older brother, he was carrying a secret weight that threatened to crush everything he had worked for. When the show first began, Garrett was already 6'8" and instantly noticeable, but not for the reason anyone imagined. At that time, he was what people often call a high-functioning alcoholic. That means he didn't appear drunk, didn't slur his lines, didn't miss his cues. In fact, he performed almost flawlessly. He could deliver a clean 22-minute take, hit every joke, and stay completely in character, even though he had alcohol quietly hiding in his system. The cast and crew saw a professional. No one knew the storm he was hiding inside. Season 1 was his private battlefield. Between filming days and late nights alone, Garrett slowly slipped deeper into a habit he believed he could control. Alcohol was his comfort, his escape, and sometimes his only way of getting through the pressure of sudden fame. From the outside, nothing seemed wrong. He showed up early, worked hard, and made everyone laugh. But the truth was that each day pushed him a little closer to a breaking point. That breaking point came one morning in the strangest, most heartbreaking way. Garrett woke up on his front lawn, outside, disoriented, and completely unaware of how he had gotten there. And then something happened that shocked even him. He found himself barking like a dog. Not as a joke, not as a bit. Just a confused, lost man who had finally hit the lowest moment of his life. It was the kind of incident that forces someone to confront the truth they've been avoiding. For Garrett, that was rock bottom. But rock bottom can sometimes be a turning point, a moment that whispers, "You can still change." And that is exactly what he did. Before the second season of Everybody Loves Raymond even began, Garrett made a life-altering choice. He got sober, completely, quietly, and with absolute determination. He did not announce it to the cast. He did not ask for applause. He did not even tell his closest friends at first. He simply walked onto the Season 2 set as a man who had decided to save himself. In many ways, his performance grew even sharper after that. Sobriety brought clarity. It gave him steadier ground under his huge frame, and it allowed him to pour pure energy into his work. The awkward charm of Robert Barone became richer, funnier, and more lovable. Not because Garrett was pretending, but because he was finally showing up as his real self. His honesty, even if hidden, made his acting better than ever. Years would pass before Garrett shared the truth. By then, he had collected 3 Emmys for his role on the show. Audiences adored him. He had a career many actors could only dream of. But when he finally opened up about his journey, he didn't talk first about awards, scripts, or fame. He talked about mornings. Specifically, the morning he woke up sober and clear-headed, in a quiet house, with no memories missing and no shame waiting to greet him. He said that silence was the loudest applause he ever heard. It wasn't the cheers from a studio audience or the praise of critics that made him feel victorious. It was the peace of waking up whole. The simple relief of knowing he had made it through another night without fighting himself. The quiet was more meaningful than any standing ovation, and it reminded him of how far he had come. The gentle giant who played television's tallest, saddest brother had in reality saved himself. While he was busy saving every scene of the show, making people laugh, giving Robert Barone his lovable awkwardness, he was also rebuilding his own life, one sober day at a time. His journey became a testament to the idea that even the people who make us laugh the hardest can be fighting battles no one sees. And sometimes, the greatest performance of all is the one in which a person learns to face their own truth and choose life again. Brad Garrett's story is more than an actor's struggle. It is a reminder that giants can fall, but they can also stand back up. And when they do, the whole world hears them, even in complete silence. Which of the actors struggled to keep his head afloat in the sitcom from the first day? What happened to him? Let's dig into the details of the beloved actor who had a bad audition day. Peter Boyle's terrible, horrible, no good, very good audition day. Peter Boyle arrived on the day of his audition like a small storm crashing into the building, 45 full minutes late, dripping with sweat, red-faced with frustration, and pulling his bewildered family along behind him as though they were caught in the tail of a very irritated comet. Everything that could go wrong had already gone wrong for him that morning. Security had stopped him at the gate. One guard sent him to the wrong building. Another insisted he repark, and every available spot seemed to vanish just as he approached it. By the time he finally found the right room, he was beyond irritated. He wasn't just late. He was genuinely furious. He threw open the door with the energy of a man who had fought his way through traffic, bureaucracy, and bad directions all before breakfast. He stomped inside, muttering under his breath, his face twisted in annoyance. In that moment, without even trying, he transformed into the perfect embodiment of Frank Barone, the grumpy, brutally honest, loudly opinionated father character the show Everybody Loves Raymond was searching for. Ray Romano and Phil Rosenthal, the star and the creator of the show, were stunned into silence when they saw him. Their mouths literally dropped open. They had spent weeks trying to imagine who could possibly play Ray's impossible father, a man who complains about everything, argues about anything, and still manages to be strangely lovable. And now, standing right in front of them, almost vibrating with irritation, was the living, breathing answer. Ray and Phil didn't need to hear a single line. They didn't even need him to sit down. Without thinking, they both shouted at the same time, "Don't change anything, you're hired!" It was as if destiny had shoved Peter Boyle into the room at exactly the right moment, wearing exactly the right expression, acting exactly like Frank Barone without even knowing it. Later, when the chaos of the moment had settled and he finally understood what had happened, Peter laughed and said, "My worst day ever got me my favorite job ever." And he meant it. What started as a nightmare morning became the beginning of the most beloved role of his career, a role that fans across the world still, quote, cherish and miss. But behind that laughter, and behind every sarcastic, "Holy crap!" Frank Barone delivered, Peter Boyle was carrying a heavy secret. Quietly, privately, and with remarkable strength, he was already battling the cancer that would eventually take his life in 2006. He told almost no one. He didn't want pity, and he didn't want the writers to kill Frank off or reduce his role. Frank Barone was too much fun, too important, and too alive to be taken away early, so Peter pushed forward, smiling, working, and delivering performances full of fire and heart, even when his body was fighting a different kind of war. His castmates, Ray Romano, Doris Roberts, Patricia Heaton, Brad Garrett, had no idea for years. To them, he was simply Peter, the brilliant actor who could turn grumpiness into gold, who made millions laugh without even trying, who turned irritation into art. Only much later did the truth slowly come out, and when it did, the cast realized just how much strength had been hidden behind his jokes. Over the course of the show, Peter Boyle earned 7 Emmy nominations for his unforgettable performance as Frank Barone. And every time he delivered one of Frank's hilarious, sharply honest one-liners, the audience reacted the same way, with surprise, delight, and that iconic national reaction, "Holy crap!" When Peter Boyle passed away, the world didn't just lose a talented actor. It lost the sweetest grump in television history, a man who could make you laugh until you cried, then leave you with a warmth you didn't expect. He left us the way he lived on screen, with humor, honesty, and a quiet courage most people never saw. And even now, long after Frank Barone's last sarcastic comment has faded from our screens, Peter Boyle continues to make us smile through our tears. How and why Patricia Heaton concealed her pregnancies still remains a mystery, leaving fans asking, what is her life like outside the screen? What kind of family does she have? Let's take a look at the personal life of Patricia Heaton. Patricia Heaton's untold story beyond Hollywood. Patricia Heaton's personal life is a story filled with love, loss, rediscovery, and the quiet courage to rebuild oneself over and over again. Long before audiences laughed with her on Everybody Loves Raymond or connected with her warmth on screen, Heaton was building a life behind the scenes, one shaped by family, faith, and the often difficult choices required to stay true to oneself. Since 1990, Heaton has been married to David Hunt, the English actor and director whose calm, grounded presence balances her vibrant personality. Their marriage has lasted decades in an industry famous for short-lived romances, and together they have raised 4 sons. Parenting 4 boys while juggling the demands of a Hollywood career might seem overwhelming, but Heaton often speaks of it as one of the greatest blessings of her life. By 2002, the family had settled into a rhythm that many working parents might envy, splitting their time between Los Angeles, close to studios, auditions, and film sets, and Cambridge, where life moved at a gentler pace. For Heaton, this balance provided something close to normalcy, a stable world in the middle of Hollywood's constant motion. In 2002, she also released her memoir, Motherhood and Hollywood: How to Get a Job Like Mine, published by Villard Books. The book wasn't just a look at her career. It was a warm, witty exploration of how a regular woman from Ohio found herself navigating auditions, rejection, fame, and the struggle to keep her family at the center of it all. Her voice in the memoir, honest, humorous, and deeply human, allowed readers to see the woman behind the characters she played. But Heaton's journey wasn't always smooth. Before her marriage to Hunt, she had been married to Konstantin Yankoglu. The relationship eventually ended, and the emotional fallout sent her into what she later called her Protestant wilderness. This phrase describes a period where she drifted spiritually, unsure of her place and uncertain about her faith. Raised Catholic, Heaton had always carried a deep spiritual foundation, but personal pain and life changes made her step away for a while, searching for understanding and stability. Years later, in June 2017, something significant happened. Her first marriage was officially annulled by the Catholic Church. This wasn't just a legal decision, it was a deeply meaningful moment for her spiritual life. With the annulment, Heaton felt able to return fully to the Catholic Church, embracing once again the faith she had known since childhood. Her return to Catholicism wasn't loud or dramatic. It was steady, heartfelt, and rooted in the desire for grounding and truth. Heaton has also been remarkably transparent about another area of her life that many celebrities keep hidden: plastic surgery. She has openly talked about undergoing multiple procedures, including a tummy tuck and breast reduction, choices she made after delivering her 4 sons through cesarean sections. Instead of pretending her appearance came effortlessly or criticizing herself for aging and childbirth changes, Heaton chose honesty. She spoke about these surgeries not as attempts to chase youth, but as decisions that made her feel physically comfortable again. Her openness turned what many treat as a secret into a relatable part of her life story. Another moment of vulnerability came during a 2020 interview with Parade. Heaton shared that she had stopped drinking 2 years earlier. Her admission wasn't framed as a dramatic confession, but as a personal choice, a commitment to clarity, health, and emotional well-being. She described how cutting out alcohol brought calmness, stability, and a renewed sense of presence into her life. For fans who admired her strength and candor, it was yet another reminder that even those who seem to have it all fight quiet, invisible battles. Today, Patricia Heaton stands as more than a beloved actress. She is a woman who has allowed herself to evolve, to to make mistakes, to tell the truth even when it's hard, and to rebuild her identity with courage. Whether navigating the joys and complexities of motherhood, reconnecting with her faith, being honest about her body, or choosing a healthier lifestyle, Heaton's life echoes one powerful message. Growth is not a straight line, and reinvention is always possible. So, do you think Patricia Heaton was weird for concealing 2 pregnancies while filming the sitcom? Was she desperate or passionate? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.